I mean, afflictions win. Oscar has been given to so many people with diseases, it should wear a hospital gown. I mean, blind, deaf, ALS, cerebral palsy, Alzheimer's, amputee. There's nothing more automatic. Well, except if you're mentally challenged in some way. The whole thing is so Hollywood, a room full of know-nothings who call themselves the Academy, making everyone tremble before their judgment, even though their judgment is often terrible and fails the test of time. Maybe the hashtag should be Oscar's so wrong. Citizen Kane, It's a Wonderful Life, 12 Angry Men, Singing in the Rain, Dr. Strangelove, Raging Bull, Pulp Fiction, goes on and on. Not a single Best Picture among them. Brilliant, brave, groundbreaking, intellectually honest films constantly lose to much more forgettable, trifling, sentimental stuff.
This year's Oscars may be finished, but the backlash is just getting started. One of the biggest controversies from the night was seeing awards handed to people many viewers believe did not truly earn them. Maher was among the loudest voices calling it out. He took direct aim at Hollywood for prioritizing ideological signaling over genuine talent. And he did not.
Casting directors have to stop listening to the casting police and go back to doing their job, which is picking the best actor for the role. Now, I mention this because a lot of people lately are either apologizing for or calling on others to apologize for playing roles they call appropriation. James Franco was just chosen to play Fidel Castro, and John Leguizamo posted, "No more appropriation. Boycott. This f***ed up. I don't got a problem with Franco, but he ain't Latino." Okay, but John Leguizamo is Colombian American. He ain't a Venetian, but he played one. He ain't a French little person or an Italian plumber, but he played them too, because he's...
John Leguizamo is hardly in a position to lecture others about cultural appropriation. He built a long and respected career by playing a wide range of characters, many far removed from his own background. For years, that was praised as versatility because that is the foundation of acting. It is about stepping into different lives and making audiences believe in them. The frustration now is that the rules appear to change depending on who is speaking. When it benefits someone, it is called range. When it does not, it is suddenly offensive. That inconsistency is what many viewers are.
The hell do you think people become actors? Because they want to spend their life not being who they are. Appropriating sounds like an unforgivable sin until you remember that's what acting is. That's why acting jobs are called roles. Sean Penn won an Oscar for playing gay civil rights martyr Harvey Milk. At the time, it was considered a courageous act of solidarity for a straight male movie star to play a homosexual. Now it's the opposite. Eddie Redmayne played a transgender woman in The Danish Girl, but now calls that a mistake because many people don't have a chair at the table. Well, actually, in movies now, they do. And what does it have to do with you playing trans? Does it then work the other way? Can trans actors only play trans?
Maher's point is straightforward. Acting, by its nature, involves inhabiting experiences that are not your own. That is the craft. Some of the most memorable performances exist precisely because actors stepped outside their personal identities. What has changed is the cultural pressure surrounding that idea. Eddie Redmayne later expressed regret over a past role. Scarlett Johansson walked away from a project after backlash. Hank Azaria publicly apologized for voicing Apu on The Simpsons. Instead of celebrating performance and range, the culture increasingly treats...
The whole thing is so Hollywood, a room full of know-nothings who call themselves the Academy, making everyone tremble before their judgment, even though their judgment is often terrible and fails the test of time. Maybe the hashtag should be Oscar's so wrong. Citizen Kane, It's a Wonderful Life, 12 Angry Men, Singing in the Rain, Dr. Strangelove, Raging Bull, Pulp Fiction, goes on and on. Not a single Best Picture among them. Brilliant, brave, groundbreaking, intellectually honest films constantly lose to much more forgettable, trifling, sentimental stuff. Saving Private Ryan lost to Shakespeare in Love. Sunset Boulevard lost to All About Eve. Glory to Driving Miss Daisy. Gangs of New York to Chicago. Munich lost to Crash. Citizen Kane lost to How Green Was My Valley.
That is where the larger problem begins to surface: the slow erosion of raw talent and truly great films. If Hollywood continues letting rigid cultural rules dictate casting, skill and storytelling will inevitably take a backseat to box checking. And when that happens, quality suffers. The frustration surrounding recent releases from studios like Disney and Warner Brothers reflects that. Audiences are not only reacting to representation debates, but to weak scripts, forced casting, and performances that fail to resonate. When identity outweighs talent, films begin to feel manufactured rather than inspired.
And isn't the best acting always about making us feel our common humanity beyond separate identities? A black George Washington in Hamilton, of course. But Ryan Gosling as Frederick Douglass? Yes, that would be problematic. Ditto Shia LaBeouf as Shaft. It's...
Maher also highlights what many see as a clear double standard in today's casting debates. There is often little outrage when actors from minority backgrounds take on roles originally written as white or part of the majority. Halle Bailey playing Ariel in The Little Mermaid and the diverse aristocratic casting of Bridgerton were largely defended as progress. But when the situation is reversed, the backlash is usually swift and intense. If the rule is that identity must always align with the role, then it should apply equally. Otherwise,
why don't we just go by merit and let the best actor win? Which seems like what happened when Ana de Armas just got picked to play Marilyn Monroe, even though she's Cuban with an accent. Hey, maybe she should play Fidel Castro and James Franco can play Marilyn Monroe, and then we can all stay in our lanes. Is that what diversity and inclusion look like now? Everybody's staying in their lane? Lawrence of Arabia was gay. Peter O'Toole wasn't. I can live with that. Because he was so cool, he almost made me gay.
This is where confusion sets in. On one hand, the culture pushes for diversity and inclusion. On the other, it draws strict boundaries around who is allowed to tell certain stories. Those two ideas do not always align. Ghost in the Shell starring Scarlett Johansson was widely criticized, while Bridgerton was praised for its casting choices. The standard seems to change based on direction, not principle. If equality is truly the goal, the rule should remain consistent. Otherwise, it becomes a moving target where praise today can turn into...
Emma Stone caught hell for playing a Hawaiian, Jake Gyllenhaal for playing a Persian, Gal Gadot for wanting to play Cleopatra, Johnny Depp for playing an Indian, even though he's not an actual Comanche, and spoiler alert, he also doesn't really have scissor hands. And he's not actually a drunken pirate. Okay, bad example. Tom Hanks now says that if Philadelphia were made today, he wouldn't do it because the character was gay and he's not. Well, besides the fact that this would force all gay actors to reveal their sexuality, even if they didn't want to, great actors, which Tom is one, try hard to keep their private lives private so we don't think of their real lives when we see them in a movie that attempts to transport us into a different world. Could you really look at this actress now and not think of the trial? Should she only play shitters now?
Actors are meant to maintain some distance between their personal identities and the characters they portray. That separation is what allows the audience to believe the illusion. Once that line blurs, immersion breaks down, Take Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. Viewers focus on the stakes, not his private life. That is how cinema works best. When actors constantly center their personal beliefs or undermine their own roles, the performance starts to feel artificial. And once the illusion is gone,
What's Daniel Day-Lewis really like? I haven't a clue, which is why he's so great. Because when he plays Lincoln, I only see Lincoln. I don't think, well, there's a British heterosexual. But Hanks says, I don't think people would accept the inauthenticity of a straight guy playing a gay guy because, quote, we're beyond that now. Don't get him started on bosom buddies.
no, Tom Hanks, we are not beyond that. Acting is meant to be expansive. It demands imagination, flexibility, and the willingness to inhabit lives far removed from your own. A performer should be able to take on any role, regardless of whether they personally match the character's identity. Of course, actors can decline roles if they choose, but turning that choice into a rule-shrink storytelling instead of expanding it. The purpose of performance is interpretation.
Afflictions win. Oscar has been given to so many people with diseases, it should wear a hospital gown. I mean, blind, deaf, ALS, cerebral palsy, Alzheimer's, amputee. There's nothing more automatic. Well, except if you're mentally challenged in some way. In Hollywood, never say the R word, but if you play it in a movie, they will give you a trophy.
Hollywood's rush to satisfy ideological pressure is reshaping the industry at its core. Talent and craftsmanship are increasingly sidelined in favor of roles designed to signal virtue rather than showcase ability. Audiences notice when identity matters more than performance. Acting was meant to be about transformation, depth, and storytelling. When those values are replaced by quotas,
The acting awards, no better. They're constantly giving out the makeup for a snub Oscar when an actor gets one because the Academy stepped on its the first 10 times the guy should have won. Al Pacino in The Godfather, Godfather 2, Serpico, Scarface, Dog Day Afternoon, I could go on. Crickets. Then he plays a blind guy who screams hoo-ha and welcome to the winner's circle. It's like honoring Michael Jordan for when he played baseball.
more critics are beginning to feel that Hollywood no longer prioritizes raw talent the way it once did. Instead, recognition often appears tied to how well a performance aligns with the expectations of the cultural moment. Certain roles now seem to carry automatic prestige if they check the right boxes, regardless of execution. The debate surrounding The Danish Girl reflected this shift. When discussion moves away from craft and toward optics...
Heads lost to Chariots of Fire. Shawshank Redemption lost to Forrest Gump. Some of the most iconic directors of all time. Hitchcock, Kubrick, Tarantino, Kurosawa, Bergman, Fellini, Rob Reiner have 0 wins for Best Director. The Oscars should give out a new award, the Kanye West I'ma Let You Finish Award. Yeah, just put Kanye in the audience every year to jump up and say, I'm gonna let you finish, but Shawshank is one of the greatest movies of all time.
In the eyes of many viewers, Hollywood's continued pandering has taken a real toll. Storytelling, originality, and standout performances often feel secondary to messaging. That disconnect is becoming harder to ignore. Audiences want compelling films, not calculated outcomes. When awards drift away from what viewers value, trust erodes. Hollywood is still capable of greatness, but when pressure outweighs merit, it risks losing what made it special in the first place. And that is why this conversation